If you eat too many ultra-processed foods, you could be starving your gut microbes, and they'll get hangry. That's one of many things I learned after working on a new audio course about the gut microbiome. You can learn how to keep your gut happy by listening to Try This from the Washington Post. I'm Christina Quinn. I host Try This. Dig in with me on practical advice for life's common challenges. Follow Try This right now wherever you're listening. Seriously, try it.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Later with Mo Kelly on KFI AM 640.
One Battle After Another, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Regina Hall, Teyana Taylor, and Chase Infiniti, now in theaters. It tells the story of a former revolutionary, Bob, played by DiCaprio, who exists in a state of stone paranoia, surviving off-grid with his spirited, self-reliant, sometimes combative daughter, Willa. But eventually Bob's past catches up with him in the form of Sean Penn, and all hell breaks loose from there.
For bringing justice to the vigilante group known as the French 75, we are here to award Stephen Lockjaw with the Medal of Honor.
You have to understand, Willa.
Me and Mom used to run around and do some real bad shit. They got hurt. Now they're coming after us. I'm sorry.
I didn't ask for this. That's just how the cards were rolled out for me.
It's not cards. You don't roll cards. It's dice.
Dad, what is wrong with you?
You're right.
Let's go.
Joining me on the show is Chase Infiniti, who plays the aforementioned Willa. Chase, it's great to talk to you. How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Before we get into One Battle After Another, Chase, who is the nerd and Batman fan in your family? Is it your mom? Is it your dad? Tell us the story behind your name.
Do you know what's crazy is that I feel like neither one of my parents are they're not Batman nerds, but I distinctly remember them saying that they really loved that movie when it came out. But that is where Chase came from. I was named after Nicole Kidman in Batman Forever, and then Infinity comes from Toy Story when Buzz Lightyear says to infinity and beyond.
Beyond just the very special nature of your name, growing up, did you embrace it? Did you acknowledge it? How did you feel about it?
I loved my name. I've actually been using Chase Infiniti since I've been performing since I was 10. I grew up doing theater, and I pretty much use that name anytime I would perform.
Love it. Let's get into it. You are relatively early in your acting career. One Battle After Another is your debut film performance. Were you aware while auditioning the exact nature of the movie and who was attached?
I knew after I had sent in my initial self-tape. When I was called in to meet Paul Thomas Anderson for the first time for a callback, the casting director, Cassandra Kulakunda, she let me know that Leonardo DiCaprio and Regina Hall were also going to be there before she hung up the phone. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is insane.
But then you start meeting cast members. What is that like?
If anything, it was really exciting because I had worked on the scenes beforehand, and especially coming into that callback, I wanted to make sure that I was as prepared as I could be, ready for anything that Paul could throw at me or act accordingly off of Regina and Leo. But I think that that getting to meet them in person was incredible because I was like, oh, I can actually start to see the physicality of these characters that I've been reading on my sides on the page up until this point.
Take me into one battle after another. It's an action movie. It's a comedy. It's a drama. It's all wrapped into one. Who is Willa, and what is her relationship like with her father when we meet her?
Yeah, I mean, again, this, as you said, this movie it has a bunch of different elements about it that I hope a lot of people like. But Willa is this spirited 16-year-old girl who's trying to find her way in the world outside of what her paranoid father has been teaching her. And she's confident and independent and self-reliant in so many ways. And yeah, I think that she's an incredible character, and watching her dynamic with Bob is actually one of my favorite things to see in the film.
I noticed that in the film, at least in the beginning, you're calling him Bob. You don't have that maybe father-daughter traditional relationship. Talk to me more about the complexity of their relationship.
Yeah, Bob and Willow, they're very complex, and it is something that you notice immediately that she calls him Bob more than she calls him Dad. But Willa, in this sense, with her father, is really grown up parenting her parent. And I think the first time that you meet these two characters, especially like from what's been released now, you can kind of get that indication that their family dynamic is switched.
You talked about this a little bit in your audition process, but the cast is full of heavy hitters. I need not tell you, we've talked about that. But how is Paul Thomas Anderson as a director in his management of scenes and all this talent? What is his directorial style?
Oh my gosh. Working with Paul Thomas Anderson has been the greatest gift that I ever could have received, because he is so immensely talented more than anything. And there's a reason that he's so many people's favorite director, but he creates such a safe and supportive environment for us actors, and getting to feel that security to really just be an actor and do the job in that moment without any outside noise or outside potential challenges coming to affect your performance was such a blessing. And he was incredibly trusting and also beautifully malleable to new ideas. And I think that getting to see the story progress with ideas that came from Leo, or ideas that came from Benicio, or even plot points that came from any of the other cast members was such a beautiful thing to watch from him. And just getting to observe him in general was amazing.
Look, I'm not an actor, but it's weird just hearing when you say, yeah, Leo and Benicio and Tiana and Regina. It's like to have that type of experience so early, relatively early in your career. So I guess you answered the question, but were you ever nervous around these individuals? Not that you're not accomplished in your own right, but being this your film debut, was there ever a moment where you said like, ooh, I don't know if I can do this?
I think that, I mean, in general, everybody has self-doubts, but I really tried to push that aside and not get in my own way very early on, especially like as soon as my first chemistry read. I really wanted to make sure that more than anything, I know that, again, heavy hitters in this film and working with Paul, insane. But I, more than anything, really wanted to show up on the day as a great scene partner and a great collaborator for everybody. And I really did not want my nerves or self-doubt to get in the way of anything. And I'm proud because it didn't. So I'm very happy about that.
Did you have any type of special preparation for any of the scenes as far as the physicality or a stunt or something which probably asked more of you than just knowing your lines or reading your sides?
Yeah, I did all of my stunts in the film, and I got to dive into a world that I've never been a part of. I dance very frequently, and I had some previous experience with like kickboxing fitness, working at a gym. But through this movie, I got to learn karate and mixed martial arts for about 4 months, which was incredibly crucial to Willa's character. But it also pushed me in ways that I'd never been pushed before. And it was so much fun getting to do those actions on the day and then move in a way that I'd never moved before, and also be in an action film because I'd grown up watching them. So I was very excited for that.
Now that the movie is in theaters, do you crowdsource reviews? Do you listen to your friends? Where do you look for feedback about how the movie is being received?
I feel like the people I hear the most feedback from are my parents. My parents love to be like, okay, this is the newest article that's out. This is what everyone is saying. And I try to kind of to take it in very slowly because I don't want to get overwhelmed by everything. But my parents inform me of most everything that's out there.
She is Chase Infiniti. You will see more of her in the future, I'm sure, but right now she's co-starring in one battle after another, now in theaters. Chase, you are welcome on this show anytime. Thank you for coming on, and much success to you.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure being here. I appreciate it.
It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live on YouTube and the iHeartRadio.
If you eat too many ultra-processed foods, you could be starving your gut microbes, and they'll get hangry. That's one of many things I learned after working on a new audio course about the gut microbiome. You can learn how to keep your gut happy by listening to Try This from the Washington Post. I'm Christina Quinn. I host Try This. Dig in with me on practical advice for life's common challenges. Follow Try This right now wherever you're listening. Seriously, try it.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondersight comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondersight's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Radio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI, Later with Mo Kelly, live on YouTube and the iHeartRadio app. And you probably heard Mark Rahner during the break, or maybe some other news report, that Jimmy Kimmel is back with respect to Sinclair-owned stations and Nexstar stations. And it's been characterized as a collaborative effort between Jimmy Kimmel's production company, ABC Network, and also Sinclair and Nexstar. A lot can be gleaned, but a lot of it also has to be sort of just guessed. We don't know what's in the contracts. We don't know what's in the contracts regarding to what Sinclair promised to do. In other words, are they promising it to carry it for 3 years and they can only have maybe, I don't know, 6 preemptions? I'm just saying this is some of the language and some of the negotiation which is done prior to moments like these. We don't know what was in the contract and then what was renegotiated in lieu of this as far as content, what have you. But we do know this, and Tuala and I were just talking about this outside the studio during the break. This is another example, and I'm not going to take this away from you, Tuala, because this was your point, that cancel culture does not exist. That this is all about capitalism. This is about a money decision for Sinclair, for Nexstar, in money in the sense of you don't want to get sued, because I think there's a contract violation here if they do not air it after a certain amount of time. And also ABC saying like, this is still a moneymaker for us. For as much as been criticized about the late night format, Stephen Colbert supposedly not making money, or Jimmy Kimmel supposedly, we don't know, not making money. No, there's still revenue to be generated by these shows. And so Jimmy Kimmel was off of maybe 4 days or something like that?
Yeah.
And he's back.
Now, my question is, and this is something we were talking about in the hallway, is for all of the talk about Sinclair and Nexstar and they're impeding on free speech by canceling Jimmy Kimmel and taking the show off the air. And in part of the statement that was released, I believe this was by Sinclair Media, saying, we find it unfair that we're being criticized or called out for impeding on Jimmy Kimmel's free speech, yet no one seems to feel that there's that there should be some right by the company to decide what it is that we want to broadcast on our networks.
Okay. Let's make it smaller. Let's talk about me. Let's say I'm the Jimmy Kimmel, and then iHeart is Nexstar.
Yes.
Okay. And I can say, like, look, I'm just doing my show. I have this agreement with KFI. Who is like ABC, and KFI allows me to do X, Y, and Z. I cuss every now and then. I say ass and damn. I'm being very serious.
Yes.
And then iHeart could come in and say, wait a minute. We're not comfortable with that stuff that Mo Kelly is talking about. Then you have this higher level of negotiation where they look at my contract and say, well, in the contract, he's allowed to do this. He's not allowed to do that. There's discretion here and discretion there. And then they can come to some sort of agreement, but it's still, the free speech issue has to do with the federal government. And the feeling was the federal government used their weight and influence to pressure ABC, be it Nexstar or Sinclair, to make a decision. If this were truly just an internal employment decision, me personally, I wouldn't have had anything to say. If Nexstar and Sinclair said, hey, we don't want that on our airways, and ABC said, hey, Jimmy Kimmel, you went too far, I don't have a mumbling word to say. And I would have said, not a free speech issue, because it's just an internal employment matter. But when you involve the FCC and then Sinclair and Nexstar seemingly respond,
yes,
because of that, it's something altogether different.
And I think that's what they were speaking out against, and saying that while it may seem like we were cowering, caving, or taking a knee to the pressure of the FCC, why couldn't it just be that we as a company, because of our values and what we stand for, and that could be them saying, hey, we are all in with Trump and everything, and we don't agree with anyone, i.e. the owner of LA Times, taking shots at the president. And so we felt the need that in this moment, by trying to, in their estimation at the time, connect what he was saying as something bad about someone who is a friend of Trump, and in the moment saying, you know what, we don't want that on the air, and we're not going to air this show.
It's a great point, but the chronology matters.
Gotcha. Okay.
In the sense then that we can't we can't disregard what the FCC said and when they said it and when everything happened. Jessica Levinson had a great response to this when she was doing an interview on CBS Morning. Let me see if I can find it real quick. And she explains all this.
Look, there's no First Amendment right for Jimmy Kimmel to talk and make millions of dollars on late night television. And then other people are saying, but look, the FCC can't threaten free expression by revoking a license, or can they? What's the law actually say on all this?
Or maybe both people are right. So when we think about the First Amendment, who does it protect us against? It protects us against the government. So can a private employer like ABC decide to take action against Jimmy Kimmel because they don't like the content of what he said? They can. That's not a First Amendment question. That's more of an employment contracts-based question. But then you introduce the FCC. And there's kind of two questions as far as I see it with respect to the FCC. The first question is whether or not their actions gave rise to legal coercion. When they said to ABC, I'm paraphrasing here, basically, we can do this the hard way or the easy way. Does that then basically introduce the government into ABC's decision so that ABC's not acting voluntarily, and instead it is the government pushing and saying, you need to oust Jimmy Kimmel? And then the separate issue for the FCC really is the licensing issue and how and whether they could revoke a license. I'll just say revoking a license is a nuclear option, and you cannot do it based on, I don't like what you said.
So, Jessica, let's talk about recourse, because back in the early 70s, in the Nixon era, Watergate, the White House threatened to pull licenses from Washington Post-owned TV stations in Florida. Those stations prevailed. So if a battle ensued here, what recourse do the stations have to fight and win?
This is your point.
So they absolutely do have recourse. You just said, they fought and they won. So what would happen first? First, there would be a fairly lengthy process within the FCC. I just want people to know it's not like somebody says, you know what, I think their license should be pulled, and the next day that's what's happened. There's first a complaint that's filed, then there's an investigation, then there's a hearing before an administrative law judge. You're entitled to due process. ABC is entitled to notice and an opportunity to be heard and to challenge what's being alleged before that administrative law judge. Then you have the FCC voting. Then if the FCC does vote to say, okay, now we are taking this big step, we're revoking your license, you can then challenge it in court. It would go to the DC Circuit.
Okay, so that gives a broader view.
Yeah.
But it also says there are limited options for Nexstar and Sinclair.
Yeah.
Either they're going to follow the contract or they're going to pull out of the contract and then get sued. And then it goes from there. It becomes a legal issue. And obviously that means Sinclair and Nexstar lose money because they're not generating their ad revenue that they would generate from Jimmy Kimmel, because they got to fill with something. I don't know, even if it's an infomercial.
Yeah. And they can only run these reruns for so long. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, yes, it is relevant to say, yes, it is an employment issue. Nexstar said, hey, we didn't sign up for this. We think he's outside the boundaries of the contract. You know, like, hey, iHeart, you need to get your employee under control, KFI, because we didn't sign on for this. But at the same time, there's still a contract in place. And either you're going to honor the contract or you're going to take him to court and see if you can void the contract. Nexstar, to bring it home, Nexstar and Sinclair obviously made the decision it's better to go forward than to go against.
Okay.
It's later with Mo Kelly. When we come back, we have the Rahner Report with Mark Rahner, who's going to be reviewing what, Mark?
One battle after another, all nearly 3 hours of it.
It's that long?
It's long.
Okay, we'll get into that next. KFI AM 640, live every week.
If you eat too many ultra-processed foods, you could be starving your gut microbes, and they'll get hangry. That's one of many things I learned after working on a new audio course about the gut microbiome. You can learn how to keep your gut happy by listening to Try This from the Washington Post. I'm Christina Quinn. I host Try This. Dig in with me on practical advice for life's common challenges. Follow Try This right now wherever you're listening. Seriously, try it.
We're on YouTube and the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Now on Later with Mo Kelly, Mark talks about movies and TV, pontificates about pop culture. Rahner Report with Mark Rahner. Mark Rahner right now. Mark Rahner right now. Mark Rahner right now. Report with Mark Rahner.
KFI, Later with Mo Kelly. It's now time for the Rahner Report with Mark Rahner.
Tonight, we're going to talk about One Battle After Another from director and writer Paul Thomas Anderson. Here's some trailer, and it's similar to the one Mo played, but I had to find one without any dirty, filthy, job-ending words in it.
What I'm doing here is I'm creating a closed circuit. Very important to keep your cap shunted like this so you don't accidentally detonate your charge.
Don't stop. I want you to create a show. This is an announcement on revolution. The message is clear.
I'll be seeing you very soon.
Not if I see you first.
We're bringing justice to the vigilante group known as the French 75. We are here to award Stephen Lockjaw with the Medal of Honor.
You have to understand, Willa.
Me and Mom used to run around and do some real bad shit. They got hurt. Now they're coming after us. Sorry.
I didn't ask for this. That's just how the cards were rolled out for me.
It's not cards. You don't roll cards. It's dice.
Dad, what is wrong with you?
You're right.
Let's go.
Okay, that's plenty of that. When Paul Thomas Anderson's There Will Be Blood came out back in 2007, I was still kind of processing what I'd seen, but it was deadline time and I had to file my review, and I said it was some sort of instant American classic, and I think it did turn out to be one. Also, I walked around telling people I'd drink their milkshake for quite some time after that. We're just going to go with PTA from here forward and figure that you won't take it for the Parent-Teacher Association in this context, or that kind of sponge bath you take when you can't have a real shower. You're not going to go with PTA, or 1 second here, technical. There we go. I'm not quite ready to say that PTA is the modern Stanley Kubrick, but I think he and Christopher Nolan are the closest we've got, and anything they do is worth seeing, even if you don't immediately love it. I respected but didn't love Inherent Vice or Punch Drunk Love or Phantom Thread, but I do love Boogie Nights and Licorice Pizza, and I think One Battle After Another falls pretty squarely on that side of the ledger. If I have to tell you what it's about, and I really think it's best for you just to strap in for the ride and see where it takes you, here's what I'll say. It's about a revolutionary played by Leonardo DiCaprio who belongs to a group that rescues immigrants from detention centers, among other things. His partner, girlfriend, old lady, Perfidia Beverly Hills, is played by Tiana Taylor, and she's a fairly theatrical badass who's pregnant and also attracts a military whack job played by an absolutely jacked Sean Penn with the spectacular name of Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw. That's our starting point. The story spans years into where the kid's now a teenager being menaced by Colonel Lockjaw after the revolutionary group is more or less scattered to the winds. And Leo's character, with the polar opposite dull name of Bob Ferguson, is a hapless, drunken stoner with a man bun and a bathrobe, and he needs to save his daughter. I can barely even tell you what kind of movie One Battle After Another is. Drama, satire, comedy, some action and violence. It's all those, and it's kind of nuts. I'm not the world's hugest Leo fan, but I really admire his lack of vanity in becoming this putz, who's sort of like a cross between his Rick Dalton character from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and the dude from The Big Lebowski. You probably wouldn't like this guy if you met him. He's mediocre, he's irritating, but he loves his daughter. And we got to talk about Sean Penn as Colonel Lockjaw. Whatever you might think of Sean Penn in the real world, well, I don't care. He's a fantastic heel in this movie, and it's as much his movie as Leo's. PTA's channeled his frightening intensity into, it really is frightening, into something I think is sure to get an Oscar nomination and not a perfunctory one. Nothing about this movie is perfunctory. And for a movie whose characters have such comic book names like Perfidia Beverly Hills and Colonel Lockjaw, it's an actress whose actual name is Chase Infiniti who stands out as Leo's feisty daughter. So what if her name sounds like a mid-priced sedan? If you missed Mo's interview with her, you can hear it on the later podcast. I see that One Battle After Another's got something like 98% on Rotten Tomatoes now, and you'd usually take that with a huge grain of salt, especially after last year's best of lists, the Oscars, and Anora and Emilia Perez. But this 98% isn't the result of a bunch of pretentious, out-of-touch hacks. One Battle After Another is a quirky, idiosyncratic movie that is the work of a distinctive filmmaker, and an AI could never crank out something like it. It might be the kind of movie critics think they should like, but it's also legit good. It's also nearly 3 hours long, but I will watch it again. When I compare PTA to Kubrick, one part of that is that movies by both of them are worth revisiting as time passes when you're at different ages yourself. This one obviously reflects and comments on stuff going on now with the ICE detention gulag, as well as a preposterous secret white supremacist group. But there's lots more going on than just riffing on current events. In fact, there's enough going on for different people to find different things in the movie. But one facet that appealed to me was, if you have to do something about things you find unjust and intolerable, there's always a cost. There's this scene with Leo getting loaded in his bathrobe watching the 1966 classic, The Battle of Algiers. It's about Algerians fighting for independence from France. And you realize instantly, he's not that serious of a person. He wouldn't fit in that movie. Maybe he doesn't fit in this one, but this is where he is and where his daughter is, and we all have to live and act where we find ourselves. Character is revealed in how we respond to terrible things, or don't respond, or cheer the terrible things on and get off on them. Am I being too opaque here? There's some Dr. Strangelove level humor in this movie, speaking of Kubrick, not just from the loons and the racists you'd expect, but also the revolutionaries and their insistence on proper procedure, which Leo's stoner character has serious problems with. It's a little more dry than shouting, "There's no fighting in the war room," but it's still pretty funny. Got a huge cast. Benicio del Toro plays a beer-guzzling karate instructor. Kevin Teige from the old Emergency TV show pops up in a small role. The movie's based on a Thomas Pynchon novel, which I haven't read, called Vineland. And Inherent Vice was also from Pynchon as well, another one I didn't read. I don't think One Battle After Another is your typical movie crowd pleaser, but I also don't see how anyone who loves movies could miss it. I'm still processing it, but I think we might have another classic on our hands. This one's going on my best of list along with Sinners and some others. There's your Rahner report, Mo. Are you going to go see this?
I'm going to see it this weekend without a doubt.
Attaboy.
Probably Sunday.
Yeah, be prepared. As long as it did not drag at all for me. I mean, the movie that we talked about last week, Him, I was looking at my phone clock about every 2 or 3 minutes. I just wanted the hell out of there. I was not doing this and this. It's just really a masterful piece of filmmaking with a bunch of stuff going on. The sound, the music by Johnny Greenwood is overpowering and really adds to the thing. It's quite an experience. Now, do we have a couple minutes left over?
No, you got time. Go ahead. Do you?
In our remaining time, I think we got to talk about Alien Earth, which wrapped up this week.
Oh, my gosh.
With its 8th, and I fear not final episode. I have rarely seen a show that started off so strong as such a worthy addition to the Alien movies, only to end up making me feel like I needed a PTA bath and yelling at the screen. After 7 episodes of build-up and letting the xenomorphs loose on the Earth, as the title promises, what we get is a shift in focus to the handful of young android hybrid people who may never know if they're real or just copies of the kids whose consciousnesses were put in the artificial enhanced bodies. They decide they're going to run the show now, and it just stops there. To quote John McEnroe,
"You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious."
That is exactly how I felt. You saw this, didn't you, Mo?
I saw it, and I feel similarly, if only because, and this is partly my fault. I went into this thinking that it was going to be like a limited series, 1 season, beginning, middle, end, tell a very specific story, which is 2 years before the Nostromo and Alien, the original movie.
Yeah.
Instead, we got the beginning of a story that they're going to drag out probably 2 or 3 seasons, if they have their way, to tell a story which is not going to have anything to do with the first Alien movie. And it seems like a cash grab. It started off wonderfully, beautifully, accurately, and then it descended into something that was meandering with no real direction and definitely no conclusion.
Yeah, it's dull when we agree, but you're exactly right about that. And I think it almost would have been better if the show sucked from the start, because it started off so promising that the letdown was much, much stronger.
How can they not see that ending was going to be trashed and panned? How could someone look at those 7 episodes and then say, okay, we got a code brown for episode 8 here. We need to do something. We need to reshoot something. We need to rewrite something.
Oh, it is a galactic code brown. And I want to know what happened behind the scenes, because I've rarely been as infuriated with how a show ended, except for maybe the Lost finale.
It was similar in that regard, because it left you thinking like, what? It's over. And the way they set it up, it was setting itself up for this big moment and clash. And I don't want to give it away if you haven't seen it, and you don't get it. You don't get to see it. And it's almost like they want to make it like it's some cliffhanger for next season that we don't know that we're going to get. And we may not even care if we do get it.
I'm okay if the show is euthanized. I don't need another season. Yep. They have lost all my goodwill. And so now I've vented. I'm not going to spoil anything else.
We agree. Damn it.
Damn it to hell.
KFI, it's later with Mo Kelly, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
KFI and KOST HD2, Los Angeles, Orange County. More stimulating talk.
If you eat too many ultra-processed foods, you could be starving your gut microbes, and they'll get hangry. That's one of many things I learned after working on a new audio course about the gut microbiome. You can learn how to keep your gut happy by listening to Try This from the Washington Post. I'm Christina Quinn. I host Try This. Dig in with me on practical advice for life's common challenges. Follow Try This right now wherever you're listening. Seriously, try it.